Welcome to today's explainer. Look, if you've ever written even a single line of code, you've probably hit it. I'm talking about the most universal, absolutely hair-pulling, frustrating headache in all of software development. You build something beautiful, it runs flawlessly on your own laptop, you hand it off to a teammate or try to push it to production, and it just completely crashes. Well, today, we are going to cure that headache once and for all by demystifying Docker. We're going to take you straight from local chaos to production-ready perfection. Let's get right into it. So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the infamous My Machine problem, compare virtual machines to containers, break down images versus containers, check out Docker Hub and Docker files, and finally, look at scaling with Docker Compose. All right, Section 1, the My Machine problem, the universal developer headache. Picture this, you're building an awesome new app. To make it work locally, you've essentially built an entire custom ecosystem right on your laptop. You've got a very specific version of Node.js installed, a MongoDB database running, Redis set up for caching, and maybe some Kafka for message streaming. You've carefully tweaked every environment variable, and it works flawlessly. But then, you decide to share it.
Yep, there it is, the absolute classic. The agonizing question every single developer has asked at some point. You hand your code off to a colleague for testing, or you push it to a server, and suddenly absolutely nothing works. Your teammate is staring at a screen full of red errors, and you're just sitting there saying, "But no way, it works on my machine." It's a massive running joke in the tech world because it literally happens to everyone. But why? Why does this actually happen?
Well, the culprit is what we like to call dependency chaos. Think about it. If your app was built relying on Node.js version 1, but your teammate has version 2 installed on their machine, it breaks. If they forgot to install a specific background library for MongoDB, Redis, or Kafka, it breaks. And on top of all that, you might be coding on a Mac while they're testing on Windows or Linux. Different operating systems have completely different underlying settings. This foundational mismatch of environments, that's the exact problem Docker was born to solve.
Moving on to Section 2, virtual machines versus containers, the heavy versus the light. Let's take a quick trip down memory lane and look at how the industry used to try and solve this environment chaos before Docker came along. Because, developers have always known this was a problem, and their early solution was basically just trying to ship the entire environment.
So the old school way of doing this was by using virtual machines. If your app ran fine on your specific Linux setup, you'd literally just copy that entire operating system, bundle it up as a virtual machine, and hand that massive file to your colleague. But man, there was a massive drawback there. Virtual machines require a full, separate operating system to run. They're incredibly heavy, they take forever to boot up, and they can just randomly disconnect, completely ruining your workflow. Enter Docker containers. Instead of copying the whole bulky OS, a container just shares the host machine's OS kernel. This makes them incredibly lightweight, lightning fast, and they can start up in literally seconds.
Think of a Docker container like carrying a packed Tiffin box, or, a lunchbox. Instead of packing up the entire kitchen, the stove, the fridge, the chef, which is basically what a virtual machine does, you're just packing exactly the food you need to eat, neatly separated into its own little compartments. It's light, it's totally portable, and it's completely ready to be consumed anywhere with absolutely none of the bloat. Okay, Section 3, images versus containers. Time to unpack the jargon. Beginners mix these two up all the time, honestly. But nailing the difference is absolutely crucial to unlocking what Docker can really do.
First up, we have the image. An image is, quite simply, a read-only template. You can really just think of it as a raw, static blueprint, or a recipe sitting safely on your hard drive. It defines exactly what your app needs, say Kafka version 2 or a highly specific Node environment, but it isn't actually doing anything yet. It's just a snapshot of an environment frozen in time.
Right, so how does that blueprint actually come to life? Well, that brings us to the container. A container is the live, running, active instance of that image. When you tell the Docker engine to go ahead and run an image, it allocates real memory, RAM, and CPU to it. That static recipe suddenly becomes a living, breathing application. So remember, the image is the template, the container is the actual execution of that template.
And honestly, this right here perfectly illustrates Docker's massive scalability advantage. A single image can be spun up into dozens or even hundreds of independent running containers. If you have a single image for Kafka, you don't need to duplicate that giant file 5 times just to run 5 instances. You just tell Docker to spin up 5 separate containers, all referencing that exact same single blueprint. It is so incredibly efficient. Now at this point, you might be wondering, and it's a super common question, if a container is isolated and brings all its own dependencies, how on earth is it interacting with my actual physical computer? Is it using my Mac or Windows operating system to run, or is it doing something completely different? Well, the answer is actually a really cool technical secret. Containers are natively designed to share the host operating system's kernel, specifically the Linux kernel. That's a huge reason why they're so incredibly fast. But what if you're coding on a Mac or a Windows machine, right? Well, Docker Desktop works absolute magic behind the scenes for you. It automatically spins up this tiny, completely hidden Linux virtual machine in the background. Your containers then just use that hidden Linux kernel to run seamlessly, regardless of what physical keyboard you're typing on. All right, Section 4, Docker Hub and Docker files, sourcing and building. So we know we need these images to spin up our containers, right? But where do developers actually get them? Well, the beauty of Docker is that you rarely, if ever, have to install complex software like Python or Node from scratch again. Using Docker Hub is kind of like ordering pre-cooked frozen food. You don't have to drive out to the farm, harvest the ingredients, and cook the whole meal from scratch. Official teams, like the folks who maintain Node.js or MongoDB, have already installed their software perfectly on a machine, taken a pristine snapshot of it, and uploaded that image to a massive online marketplace called Docker Hub. You literally just download or pull that pre-cooked image and run it. You just reheat it.
But what about your own custom application code? Well, for that, you're going to write a Dockerfile. Think of a Dockerfile as a simple script of sequential instructions used to build your app's completely unique image. And it reads almost like plain English. Step 1. From node 18. That pulls that pre-cooked base image we just talked about. Step 2. workdirv/app. This sets up a dedicated folder inside the container. Step 3. Copy package.json. Moves your dependency list into that folder. Step 4. Run npm install. Actually installs your specific libraries. And finally, Step 5, expose 3000, tells the container exactly which port to use. With just those few simple lines, you've created a completely reproducible image of your specific app.
Which brings us to Section 5, Scaling with Docker Compose, the ultimate orchestrator. Because, let's be real, what happens when things get complicated? Modern apps are almost never just one single piece of code. What happens when your application needs a database, a cache, and a message broker all running at the exact same time? Trying to run separate Docker run commands for every single one of those gets messy incredibly fast.
And that is exactly where Docker Compose steps in. It is the ultimate orchestrator. Compose lets you bundle all these separate services, your Kafka, your MongoDB, Redis, and your custom Node app, into one single configuration file. So instead of treating them as isolated islands that can't see each other, Docker Compose groups them into a shared bundle, allowing them to seamlessly talk to each other on the exact same internal network. And guys, the sheer magic here is in the execution. Once you've got your services defined in that Compose file, you execute literally one command to rule them all: Docker Compose up-build. You type that into your terminal, hit enter, and Docker instantly downloads the images, builds your custom code, networks everything together, and spins up your entire complex microservice architecture locally. No installation headaches, no weird version mismatches, just pure working code. So there you have it. The old works on my machine headache officially cured. By leveraging lightweight containers, pulling pre-configured setups right from Docker Hub, and orchestrating the whole shebang beautifully with Docker Compose, your environment is no longer a cage, your dependencies are packed, your containers are light. The only question left is, now that infrastructure is finally out of your way, what incredibly complex